Okay, very good. So today's short story is very short. We are on number 62. The flowing river never stops, and yet the water never stays the same. Foam floats upon the pools, scattering, reforming, never lingering long. So it is with man and all his dwelling places here on earth. This is from an account of my hut by Kamono Chome. It's a very famous book in Japan. I guess it's a novel, some kind of literature, an account of my hut. And yeah, I think Yuichi can explain more about the history, the background of it, how old. But the content is very good about um, helping us to remember how life is like a flowing river that never stops even for a moment, because that's the very definition of a river. It's always in constant motion. And the same is with life, it's always moving forward, especially when we have very good times in life, like we join somebody's wedding and everything is pleasant and harmonious and full of joy and celebrations in the air. So we want the time to stop so we can, enjoy more and get the more and more out of that experience. But unfortunately, we cannot do that because it just moves on forward. So it has a beginning and an end. Once the wedding ceremony is over, we just have to go home. And we only have the sweet memories of it to hold on to. Yeah. The good thing is, if the experience is negative, if we are suffering, yeah, then it becomes a good news. Don't worry too much. Even if you're in pain right now, it's not going to last because it's moving forward like a river. So don't worry, it will pass. This too shall pass. So that's how they have the joke. I have a bad news for you. Everything is impermanent. It will change, especially if you're in good times. So it becomes a bad news. But it's also a good news when we are in difficult times. It will pass. So don't worry. And yet the water never stays the same. So, yeah, the flow of the river, it's always moving forward. Yeah, so it's kind of similar to the first one. It never stays the same. And foam floats upon the pools, scattering, reforming, never lingering long. Yeah, it's a very vivid description of the flow of water on the river. And the same goes with life as well. Um, if we look at, a lot of sufferings in the world, because we hold on to things so tightly as if it's mine, we identify, we have such a strong sense of me and this is mine or who I am. Our image of who we are is kind of a fixed self, which Buddha says it's a delusion. The truth is, there is no fixed, unchanging self. We are constantly changing, which becomes a good news because we are changing, we will be able to find true happiness. Any kind of a person, no matter what kind of a difficulty they're in, or no matter what kind of unwholesome karma they have been accumulating, and so they're in great agony. Uh, Everyone has this potential for true happiness because the light of the Buddha is constantly illuminating us and cultivating our minds. So that becomes a good news, that happiness is possible for one and all in Buddhism. Yeah, that's a very good news. It kind of unites us instead of being judgmental of some people who we label them as bad. They're not bad, they're just inconvenient for us. They don't help us with our goals. There's a conflict. So it helps us um, kind of cultivate more compassion if you understand that we are all on the same journey. We're all looking for happiness. And then we don't need to hold on so tightly to the relative happiness or short-term happiness we experience now. We will be able to go with that flow. Yeah, maybe that's where this expression comes from, go with the flow. The river is constantly moving, and happiness is just like a bubble. It's fragile, like a foam. It floats upon the pools and it scatters very soon. It reforms again. So don't worry, even if you lose it, it comes back to you in other ways. I think that's what Rumi, the famous poet, says. So don't cry over spilled milk. It will come back to you in other ways. And yeah, and then so it is with people and all their dwelling places here on earth. Yeah, I was in Japan for 2 weeks, so we were dwelling there. It was very nice, a little bit hot and humid, but in the morning, yeah, very crisp. And we learned a lot of Dharma. We were able to talk a lot about the Dharma with like minded friends. So it's very energizing. And yeah, but we could not dwell there forever. We had to come back to our residence in California. So everything is changing. If we deepen our awareness of impermanence of life, we don't have to suffer as much. If we can accept this truth or reality, however, our minds uh, are kind of because we don't have the truth according to Buddhism within. Our minds are constantly changing. So, because we don't have the truth, we don't really process or accept the impermanence of life. We keep forgetting about it, in other words. Because we forget about this truth of impermanence, we keep suffering when things change. And that's why listening to Buddhism continually becomes crucial in order for us to cultivate deeper and deeper understanding of impermanence of life. So initially, it might be unsettling if we're not used to it because we're like, oh no, this is gonna change. Maybe we don't like it, but we will develop resilience little by little. And Buddha says that this is the way to true happiness, happiness that never abandons us. It starts with facing the impermanence. That's